Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast. This is Pete,
And this is Derek.
and we have another exciting episode this week, don't we, Derek?
Yeah, a really exciting episode in my mind.
In your mind, but also in
No.
reality.
In reality. Yeah, exactly.
The other day they showed off the final trailer for Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 minutes, and they announced it just the day before. They said tomorrow we're going to show the final 3-minute trailer. Now, Derek, before we dive into the actual trailer itself, what were your expectations when they announced that they were going to show a 3-minute trailer?
I kind of figured it was going to be a little bit more of like a sizzle reel as opposed to that kind of slow walkthrough of game mechanics. I expected it to be kind of more flashy and have some more substance. So I went in with higher expectations than that, but again, because the technical 10-minute thing was a little bit slower, I didn't quite know how excited to get for this. But anything Zelda's I'm always excited for.
Yeah, I guess I'm exactly the same. I think in a weird way, when they said 3 minutes, I'm like, I'm like almost more excited that it's a trailer that's 3 minutes versus a gameplay demonstration.
Yeah.
Although I do think now, looking back, it was the right move for them to have done that gameplay demonstration, the 10 minutes.
Totally agreed.
Because it kind of fleshed out more of the depth, and now we got to see kind of this wild, plethora of different places and settings and things and variety.
Like I saw someone say, "Oh, I wish they had done this trailer first and then the technical thing." And I was kind of like, if they showed the trailer before the technical stuff, a lot of people would be asking questions about some of the stuff in the trailer that like, how does that work mechanically? So I'm glad they kind of showed so people watching go, "Oh my gosh, you can do that. Oh my gosh, you can do that." Made a little bit more, gave a little more surrounding context to enjoy the trailer, I found.
I agree 100%. I mean, the only thing I may have suggested is that there was a little bit less time between the two. Like they showed the 10-minute trailer or the 10-minute gameplay demonstration, and then maybe 3 days later showed this trailer. But I mean, in retrospect, it doesn't really matter, does it?
No, yeah.
I think that. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I thought the trailer was amazing.
Me too.
It was better than I expected it to be.
Me too.
And it seems like that's a pretty unanimous opinion online. I've seen on, from the Reset era to Instagram and Twitter, everyone seems to be over the moon about this trailer.
Yeah, agreed.
What was what are some of your takeaways, Derek? What did you feel? Like, for one, how many times have you watched the trailer?
I've watched it 3 times now.
Okay.
And I paused it and rewind little sections of it. But the first time I watched it, at work without sound, and it got me really excited just seeing some of the content that was shown. Mm-hmm. And then when I got home, I actually listened to it with sound, and the music is so well done for the trailer. It just got me so much more hyped. And then I had to watch it immediately again. Then I think I watched it 4 times because I watched it again today. So yeah, it was kind of nice watching that first time without sound because I kind of focused on the visuals. But once you hear that music, it just like it sucks you into getting into Zelda mode, and it's crazy that it's less than a month away now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similar. I was at work, and I watched the first time on my phone with pretty low audio, and then at lunch I went to my car, and I played it through my car Bluetooth and had the volume jacked, and I was like, whoa, I'm way more pumped now. And then I've watched 100 more times, so...
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I'm kidding, actually. I've probably only seen it 4 times as well, but I have been looking at some other stuff. Like, I've listened to a few other podcast discussions about it, and we both saw that commercial that leaked.
And I've been, some people have been talking about different like still images from it. So I've been kind of analyzing and listening to what people are saying, and not too much because I want to be surprised. But there's certain things that caught my eye in the trailer that I'm sure we'll talk about. That some other people are kind of dissecting a little bit more, gave me a different opinion on it. So I'm kind of
totally
following that. Yeah.
There's also, I don't know if anyone's really noticed this, but Nintendo posted on Instagram a clip of just kind of Link standing on like the edge of they don't really show it, it's one clip, but it shows him like kind of like that opening shot of Breath of the Wild where he's standing out like amongst like on the edge of the plateau in front of Hyrule. Mm-hmm. It was like that, except he was standing on like a little bit of a kind of a brick cobblestone lookout point, but like way above the Sky Islands. I actually don't think this has been in the trailer or anything, so it actually is a new clip, I think. But it was cool. I mean, it's not really that spoiler or anything that significant, but it was cool. But yeah, let's get into it, Derek. So I know I asked you to list your top three parts of the trailer or top three
Hmm.
favorite takeaways. Why don't we start with that and then just dive in?
Sure. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the first one that really stood out to me, and I just it was the thing I remember the most from after watching the first time because I just thought it was so ridiculous and wild and creative, and I kind of thought about this even before the trailer, so I was glad it got confirmed. Is that there's that like 2 seconds of like in the middle of the sizzle reel where Link is riding this like giant stone mech thing that's swinging
Yeah.
like almost like a battle bot against like a orc also with a like a
Well,
battle
it's
bot.
bokoblins on a stone talus or whatever, like that Brock enemy,
Oh
isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I didn't know the name. That's what I thought it was, and I just in my mind, after seeing the fuse kind of in the hand building mechanics of the that longer kind of showing, I was like, man, what are the crazy stuff you can build? And I actually thought, I'm like, can you build more elaborate stuff than just a vehicle? Can you make it have extra functions? And how far can you take this? And this is kind of the beginning of, man, I think you really can go wild with your imagination. Like you can make like almost like a battle bot. Like I think it's freaking awesome. So that one really stood out to me.
I do wonder because I saw that too, and there's like almost like a little arm on the. It's like he's riding kind of like a big, tall, gray stone built vehicle, and it looks
Yeah.
like there's like a little arm on it. And I was just kind of curious, like how do you think that works with like adding items and weapons to the things you build?
So I'm curious if it's like there's certain things you can attach, and then it looks like in that little clip that Link is holding, he's on top and like almost holding like a lever. So I don't know if there's a lever thing you can fuse on, and that gives you like extra controls over the thing you're on, and more directional, and maybe like an A button input to actually do a command, like swing a sword or something, like swing a blade.
I
But
think you're
I don't know.
exactly right because I mean we have seen in other trailers like there's like a center console thing when he's flying, and it seems like once you take control of that you can like kind of fully control the vehicle. So it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense that there's like an attack function that every attack thing you fuse on. It's not called fuse. It's called, what is it called? God fuse.
No, there's fuse and there's something called something hand, fuse hand or ultra hand or
I can't remember what it's called. I'm gonna look that up. But yeah, it's some. So I think there's gonna be ability to like add items that lets you exactly what you said, like a
yeah,
button.
attach them to the robot. I'm curious if it's like how many can you put on? Can you put on one? Can you put on two? If you press a button, do they all activate? And again, just with the fuse and this building kind of component, it's gonna get really really crazy. And I also like that I was worried partially, not worried. I was thinking, what if you build these kind of cool contraptions, but there's not really anything to fight against. But now that you can see, like, oh, there's actually battles like big thing versus big thing. And like we saw again in the trailer, there's quite a few big bosses or mini bosses or strong units, let's say, that are quite big. That maybe this will become a kind of a cool part of the game where you get multiple instances of fighting with a bigger contraption that you've built.
Yeah, it's called Ultra Hand, by the way.
Ultra hand, okay.
Yeah, I wonder about that because when I think back to Breath of the Wild, I mean, there was never really an enemy fight where I felt like I needed a vehicle or even a horse. It was always just like bomb arrows and you fly up in the air. But I do wonder if this game's going to have situations where, I mean, there was that other scene in the trailer where like you're riding into like an encampment and you're swinging the big kind of staff above your head on the horse.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
So I do hope that there are these situations where you do kind of take on like huge groups of enemies, and it's not just kind of like bokoblin camps, and they really kind of amp that part of it up, where it feels like basically kind of feels like a large scale battle.
I just think with the limitations of the Switch, you won't see it as big as I think we were hoping. But I could see like 5 or 6 enemies at once, or maybe 10 bokoblins. But I don't think you're gonna get much more than that. I think you're gonna see more of either small little packs, or you're gonna see a one large mini boss kind of enemy.
Maybe, I mean, but don't forget that the Breath of the Wild had to work on the Wii U, and the Switch is quite a bit more powerful. So there are things that they're going to be able to do with Tears of the Kingdom that they wouldn't have been able to do in Breath of the Wild. So
True.
I don't think they would have shown those trailers, those bits in the trailer, especially that one where he's swinging the staff over his head, if there wasn't in the game. Because that looked like gameplay to me, and it looked like he was approaching...
That is gameplay. It just didn't look that big of a camp to me. It looked like a couple...
Well, it wasn't huge, but it was more of like the tall bokoblins, right? It was like 3 tall bokoblins and a bunch of small ones. So yeah, maybe it was 6 or 7 enemies. But this takes me to my kind of first part. My favorite thing was seeing teaming up with non-playable characters. And there's kind of 3 sections in the trailer where you see this. You see one where Link is kind of standing with a group of human characters, with the now the guy, the meme Buckethead guy that we've all seen. There's another spot where he's riding his horse with like a carriage behind him with non-playable characters in it, which could just be a side quest. And then there's another bit where you're fighting alongside Tall Zora. So I kind of think that that implies that you can almost recruit maybe teams. I don't know. Like again, it really does come back to the power of the Switch. Like it doesn't make sense to recruit like that group that bit where he's with all those humans. Do you think he'll be able to recruit them and go into a battle? And like, is that even a real thing, or is that just like the beginning of a cutscene? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, my personal opinion is I don't think there's going to be a lot of. I don't want to say human NPCs, but there's not going to be a lot of like army recruiting human stuff. But I think what we saw with the Zora, and I think if you watch carefully, I think you even get a glimpse of the bird person being part of your team.
Yep.
Is I think maybe if there are these kind of major dungeons in the game, or there are these kind of larger sections, there might be certain sections that you get your ally hero through the dungeon or through a part of that section with, and they join you and then they leave you, or they help to fight a boss. And then like I think it's gonna be kind of more story centric of when those people join you, and they're going to be like kind of one of each race, like the heroes that join you for an hour in a section, and they might give you a new gameplay mechanic in that dungeon or in that place, and they fight with you, and then when you leave they do something else, and you might go to a different area and find a different hero. But I don't think like in the open world kind of loop of the game are you going to be able to have people just run with you or recruit them or anything like that.
I agree. I mean, even if they're... I mean, as much as I think it'd be cool, if there were, like, quests, certain quests, or even, like, a quest where you'd raid an enemy camp to take guys with you, I don't actually think that'll be in the game. I think what you're suggesting is more likely, because if you think about it, let's say you rush an enemy camp with 5 non-playable characters... For one, I mean, how many enemies can they really put on the screen with AI where that would even like be a benefit versus just bomb arrowing them, And also just like, how does that work with AI in terms of like, you have a non-playable character fighting a bokoblin? Well, how good is that? And do you really need them? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like it adds a complex level of gameplay that doesn't seem suited for this game.
And I'm also curious, like, are the NPCs able to die? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that scene with Link on the hill with the NPCs might not be like recruiting them. It might be just a cutscene that has to do with
I think
the
it's a cutscene. It might be a flashback cutscene or whatever, but I think it's a cutscene for sure. And I think the carriage thing is a side quest.
Yeah, like bring these people to this point, don't get attacked, kind of thing.
Exactly.
But I mean, at the very least, it does seem like compared to Breath of the Wild, where the world felt relatively empty, and it was to the design of the game, this seems the exact opposite. Wherever you look, there's something going on. There's humans, there's characters, at least via the trailer.
Totally. I still think there's going to be a lot of that kind of negative space, because I actually do like that, where you're like, there is a huge just open field and a mountain in the distance, and you kind of just like can go there.
Yeah.
But I also like that, there are parts that are very densely packed, and there's a lot more stuff crammed into this world. But I do like that kind of open space too.
What was your second most favorite thing from the trailer?
Yeah, so my second favorite thing was, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. So I really like the part, it's only like 2 seconds, but where Link is in a minecart, and he's fighting, I think it's a bokoblin in another minecart.
Yeah.
And it's not actually that interests me. It's that if you look in the background, it looks like he's in this giant place, and it looks like there's a roof, but it looks huge. So it makes me, again, raise that question of dungeons, or people have talked about caves and caverns or dungeons and things like that. But I was watching, I'm like, oh, is this like going to be like an on-rail section where like you're stuck in the minecart? And it's kind of like, you're probably, it'd be probably hard to get out of it. But I'm sure if you really thought about it, like the people that will play this game for thousands of hours, and the way these Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is designed, of this kind of physics based, if you can think of it and figure it out, you can do it. I'm sure there's ways that you can go like anywhere that you can see in that one kind of 2-second clip, and it's huge. So I'm like, man, there could be a lot of, if that's just one spot of one place, like there's gonna be so much to this game. It just kind of got me hyped in the idea that, like, we saw these really cool stuff in this game, but we don't know anything about, are there shrines, dungeons, we don't really know the core meat of this game, or what's kind of it's all about. I've heard people talk about time travel and, dungeons and collecting certain things and heroes and whatever. But it's kind of like, all we know is like this game looks freaking awesome, but we haven't really pieced anything serious together. So that really, just seeing that and how big that place was, and kind of like, man, as Link, you can go anywhere in that spot if you can figure it out, is really awesome.
Well, I think that, given the new tool set you have, like these 4 new powers, which are, Fuse, Recall, Ultra Hand, and Ascend, I really don't think we're going to get the same 4 tools from the last one, with Bomb and Stasis and things like that. And also,
okay.
I was also
I think we're gonna get bombs, is all I wanted to say.
I think we'll get bombs as an item, or adding it to a fuse to a weapon, but I don't think we'll get bombs as a like, you can always use bombs power up. I think these 4 are going to be the new 4, and then with that, I also don't think you'll have the ability to. I don't know if you'll have the ability. What was it called? The one where once you beat in Breath of the Wild, you could like kind of get a jolt of wind and fly up.
That was Rivali's wind or whatever.
Yeah, so I think those things won't be in the game, but I think it'll be better for it, because I think it'll allow, like you said, the minecart area where you might not be able to break that area as easily. So you'll have to actually kind of engage with the systems of the game. Sure, you can use Ascend and you can fly to the top, and then how do you get back in? And sure, you can probably fuse a kind of cool jetpack thing and go in that way. But I think there will be a lot more focused gameplay and focused dungeon style.
I think for people like you and me, and especially most people on their first playthrough, they will do that kind of focused stuff. But I'm just saying, I'm excited to see also. Part of the reason I still love Breath of the Wild right now is, I could look at some guy and he'll do some crazy mechanic after playing that game for 5,000 hours to do this weird thing. Like, I'm really excited to, like, maybe someone will show this weird thing where you can bring in one of those rockets and fuse it to the minecart and fly up and then paraglide to this corner, and then you're at the boss already. Like again, I know I won't be able to do that, or especially on my first playthrough, but someone will, and that's what's so awesome, I think.
Yeah. I do really feel like, just overall looking at this trailer and just kind of what we know, I really actually think it's going to be it's hard to say, almost a little more traditional of a Zelda, where you're going to have your 7 or 8 major dungeon areas and you have to collect 7 or 8 tiers. And my prediction is that the main goal is to get to the top Sky Island. And there'll be ways to get there earlier and secret ways to get there, and all sorts of, you can build this item, or you can ultra hand together this cool flight ability. But for the most part, it's like you need those tiers to get higher and higher up, and the final dungeon or the final castle will be that high up dungeon.
Yeah, I believe that. I don't necessarily like the word traditional, because I still think it's going to be very open world, kind of go where you go, figure things out. You can do them your own way. But I do agree with, like, there is going to be, I don't know if 7 or 8 dungeons or whatever, but I think there's going to be a serious focus on dungeons. There's going to be those heroes. There's going to be, and I also agree with getting it to the highest point is going to be something significant.
Yeah. I really think, I mean, I don't know if it'll actually be dungeons, but it seems like there'll be more focused areas. And that takes me to my next favorite thing, was that one little scene where you see the boat in the windstorm.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
It reminded me a lot of Skyward Sword, that kind of boat area. But it's just like, it made my imagination kind of run wild. And it's like, wow, like that, they really can do anything in this game. And you're definitely going to get on that boat, and that there's definitely some sort of challenge or puzzle or something involved there. And an area like that looks a little more, it doesn't look like a side quest. It looks like one of the main quests. And it looks like it's tied to like this kind of underground area. So I just think that, yeah, they'll have these kind of, like, rather than the 4 divine beasts, I think we'll get like 8 kind of tiers that we have to collect in these various areas, but there'll be these mega kind of quests, right? Like for one of them, maybe it's like you have to go underground and complete this whole thing, and then get into this castle down there, and et cetera, et cetera. It's exciting that we still don't know these answers, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your third favorite thing from the trailer?
Yeah, I didn't really quite have a third one. So, I mean, I guess I would say this is, again, partially because I've read the speculation about it, but, you know, some of the Zelda stuff and the Zelda Link kind of stuff we've seen, some people are speculating that, you know, there may be this kind of time travel component. And, you know, if you look at Zelda, she looks significantly different in some shots. Like, she has, I think, shorter hair. She has a tear on her cheek. And, you know, there's parts of the trailer where Link has his hand intact, and part of it where he has that kind of cursed demon hand. There's a part where the Master Sword is being whole, but also the Master Sword, I think, being broken. So it's kind of, some people are speculating, oh, maybe there is a time travel mechanic. Maybe there is a part that's your playable Zelda in the past or the future, or vice versa. Or maybe, you know, maybe Link dies at the beginning of the game and Zelda goes back and brings the Link from the past to the future to save everyone. Like I don't know. I just think, again, people are just speculating here. I just think there's a lot of really kind of cool ideas with that have cool ideas possible for this story. And, you know, for me, I don't really care so heavily about a story in the game, but I just find, you know, this seems like a lot more story focused than a lot of Zelda games. And that makes me excited because I just am excited to see where they can take Zelda in that kind of aspect.
Well, to your point, there's also in earlier trailers we saw Link with long hair wearing kind of like a toga. So is that an earlier or later section? Personally,
or earlier later Link.
I really don't think there will be time travel, at least not in the sense that, like, you know, a lot of Zeldas have like the dark world or like the alternate dimension of the same world. I really don't think that's going to happen because, for one, I think that we would have had way more of an obvious showcase of that if that was happening.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, again, if there's underground, we haven't seen that very much. But I think
best guess, we have now.
I mean, from a little bit, but
We've
I think
seen massive underground areas. They showed that one clip in the commercial, and we've also saw that shot of the desert area with all the sinkholes falling, and then we saw Link running underground with sand falling from the top. So I think it's.
So I know they've shown that, but I think they've also, you could argue, they have shown a lot of the two different times. Whether you can go between them, I agree. I don't necessarily think that's true, but like, I do think there's some weird disconnect between Zelda and Link. And I just think that, you know, whether it's they're in different times, you can go between them or not, I don't know. But I'm just saying there's something at play, and there's definitely two different worlds somewhere in this game happening right now. So, yeah, I'm just excited to learn more about it.
I don't know. And the other thing, back to what you said about the underground, they've looked at the, like the mini-map, and there's the three numbers on it. When one represents your, like, longitude, one latitude, and then the other is your height. And they've seen in the underground areas that it's a negative number. So we know that you're going to go way high up and way low down compared to, I guess, sea level or what have you. Yeah. But I think that, I don't know if I agree that there's going to be like an alternate dimension, just because I think it's more likely that Link just has haircut options.
But I don't. You know? But I'm not. I'm not saying alternate dimension is like you can travel to them and there's two different worlds to play through. Like, I'm not like Link to the Past. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying story-wise, I think there's going to be some significant. There's two worlds in my mind, story-wise. Whether they're both playable or not, I don't know. But I think there's something going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually really curious about this story, and I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, is this even going to tie to Breath of the Wild at all? Is it going to be the sequel, the prequel, a whole nother timeline? I think what might happen is that the game will start with a cutscene, and it might be that cutscene where Link and Zelda are underground, where something they unlock something, and then Zelda falls into the pit or whatever, and then it might just from there have Link wake up in a bed on a sky island, and he might just walk out and have someone explain why his arm is this way and why new powers he has. And from there, you just explore the world, and then you have those kind of similar memories that we got in Breath of the Wild, where it shows kind of what's happening and what his mission is. I mean, that'd
Yeah,
probably be a
yeah.
worst case scenario in a way. I just think that I don't see the game, the story structuring into the game that much because for one, it's going to be open ended, and for two, I think they want you to jump into this gameplay as quickly as possible. Like, I don't think you're going to have like a long extended intro before you get.
I think it's gonna be a 2 minute intro, and it's gonna be probably similar to what you're saying. Like, Zelda and Link will have a 3 line dialogue saying, "Oh, like unlock the whatever, blah blah blah," and then something happens with Ganondorf or something, and they get separated into different places. And I think Link is sent somewhere, or Zelda sends him somewhere to save him, or he gets sent somewhere by Ganondorf, who knows, or the magic power of the world, and he ends up just being in a place, and he walks out into a different world way up high,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. But I do think it's probably going to be like the timeline will be after Breath of the Wild, almost immediately after. Like,
agreed. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm really excited about the story, and I know people are really speculating about that a lot online. So who knows?
What's your sorry, I was gonna say, what's your number 3?
Well, my number 3 was a tie between two things. I mean, I kind of put down here gameplay variety, but I guess I could summarize it as like platforming. Because I really like Mario and platforming, and it seems like they've introduced that in this game with those those pads where Link can kind of have like the hyper
The
jump
slow jump. Yeah.
and like the floating water balls, and also with his like diving down through the laser section.
Or even the part of you saw where I know he's falling and paragliding, but like there's that almost like the Death Star orb that's spinning, and you have to paraglide
Yep.
fall into that hole. That looks cool too.
I love that stuff. Like I loved. I mean, I even loved how Breath of the Wild introduced even just the jumping and paragliding and climbing like that.
Or like, yeah, even the giant maze in Breath of the Wild. Like, I love that when they make these Zelda games, they're not afraid to go huge with their idea.
Yeah.
It's not like a little thing. It's like, oh, this is a massive maze or this massive orb in the sky that like the whole thing itself is a puzzle.
Yeah, I love that, and I think seeing some of those things in this trailer. I mean, there was even that one quick clip where it looks like he's in one of those mazes again, but he's like paragliding really quickly, and it looks like the walls are closing in on him. But I think when I saw this trailer, it was just like, wow, this is like the Mario. I think I told you this the other day. It feels like the Super Mario Galaxy 2 of Zelda, where they just take their base that they've created and they just like pour gasoline on it and make it amazing.
Yeah.
But where Mario Galaxy 2 was a 2.5 year effort, since Mario Galaxy 1 was in November 2017, and 2.5 years later they had Galaxy 2. This is like 6 years later and like a way bigger team, and like it's almost refreshing that they didn't have to build a whole new world again.
Yeah, and like you just know how good this game is going to be based on how confident they are. They've shown very little of the game, really. If you think about how big Zelda is, like how much minutes of gameplay we've seen is very small. And I forgot what I was going to say. They have the confidence. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they delayed it 3 times, so they've definitely perfected it.
And they added, and again, they raised the price of this game, and you can say that's also to do with like the market and the world. But I just mean they obviously know this game's going to be absolutely huge and worth it. And they rarely ever make an iterative sequel of Zelda. I think the last time was Majora's Mask, really. So you just know that for them, if they're going to make a sequel to a game with a lot of the core features of the style, they're going to make sure it feels damn good.
Yeah, I think. I don't think we've ever seen an open world sequel where they've taken the same world and template and just made it a lot better. I mean, maybe with Fallout 4, I'm not sure, but it seems like most open world games, they start off with saying, okay, new world, fresh slate.
I think this world you're right, it's still the same, but I feel I think it's going to be more different than you realize. Like, it's going to be quite different.
For sure. But it's just the fact that they don't have to like redo the engine basically, or like most of the combat or controls, or they don't have to figure out every piece of landscape. They can just kind of go back and say, okay, we're gonna like focus our efforts on making each of these towns and each of these areas completely brand new. And that I think that's one of my big takeaways from just that quick little shot of the desert where you see all the sand sinking kind of into the ground. And, originally I'm like, okay, well, what are they going to do to the desert to make it more interesting? I mean, it was practically just a desert before. It had that one enemy, had the town. the Gerudo town. But now I think they're actually gonna say no. Like this whole area now is really just like a wasteland that leads to an underground, almost like a Elden Ring, an underground dark chasm.
Well, I think there's a part in the trailer too where like you see in the desert like a pyramid kind of dungeon rise out of the sand.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that maybe that dungeon is half in the sand, half above, and you're going to be falling through, like the whole puzzle mechanic of that dungeon is you're falling through sand pit to get underground using the caverns and then using ascend to get up to different floors and doing like this kind of up down, like the whole thing is like half above ground, half below, and you're kind of falling through sand and going up through ascend and just kind of making a whole dungeon based around that. I thought that would be super cool.
Oh, I love that idea. That'd be really cool. I feel like back to my theory is I really think that you'll get these kind of like 8 or 7, some sort of number of tiers you need to collect, and each one will be involving this massive scale, massive world quest of some kind.
Yes.
I'm not even so sure that I'm not so sure we'll even kind of get what some people want online. Or like, oh, I want my traditional dungeon. I still think we'll get like some form of shrine. I think we've seen them already. But I do think that the dungeons might be like bigger than just one indoor dungeon. It'll be like one of the dungeons could be like kind of up in the air, a sky island that's broken into these chunks, and that's where that rock comes into play, or that part where he's pushing and he's like tilting the whole rock and the light's changing. Like that, it'll be that kind of thing with like
Totally.
massive open style dungeon, almost like Twilight Princess had. But yeah, it seems like it's taking a lot of the best things from, I want to say Skyward Sword, Wind Waker with the islands, Skyward Sword being in the air, Twilight Princess was maybe some of the more focused dungeon design. It seems like it's taking Breath of the Wild and infusing it with some of these other great 3D Zeldas. At least that's kind of my takeaway.
No, totally. I think they kind of took, the Breath of the Wild success and the ideas behind it, and they said, well, what did we really like, or what did people really like about all of our other Zelda games, and how much of that can we put into this while still maintaining the kind of Breath of the Wild identity to this? And I think that's exactly what they did.
I can't wait. So my hype is at a 10 out of 10. Where are you at?
Oh, I said on the forums I'm 17 out of 10. I'll see you guys on the other side. Like I'm just waiting. I'm almost blackout, basically not going to try to learn anything else and just enjoy the ride when it comes.
It's amazing how much this trailer turned everything around.
Totally. Like I think I forget if we gave a number last time, but when we talked about that kind of gameplay thing, I said it looks really exciting. It looks interesting. Didn't really do much for me. It was kind of like an 8, or I was excited because I know it's gonna be good because it's Zelda. But now I'm like, this game is like, I'm on the hype train. I'm expecting this game to be game of the year for me. Like I'm fully on board with this. Like I know, like it's funny. I pre-ordered this at my GameStop, and they said, oh yeah, we don't know when we'll do this because we might be doing a midnight release. So I'm like waiting to hear if they're doing a midnight release because I damn well am going to be there at midnight.
Well, my digital version will be a midnight release. So
yeah.
I'm the same, man. I can't wait, and it's almost funny. Like, why did we even doubt them? Like
totally.
That was just nonsense.
The only reason I think I ever doubt Nintendo is because sometimes Nintendo goes so far into the let's go crazy with ideas, or let's go something completely new that they kind of lose themselves. But again, with Zelda, I don't think they've ever really had that. So.
I do agree, but I think that was very much a staple of the like DS and Wii era, and even GameCube to some extent, when they're like, oh, bongos and microphones and water packs and all that kind of stuff. Where now it seems like they're almost on a more reasonable level of let's be creative, but let's stay within the box. Like let's not give Zelda, or let's not give Link a water pack and make the whole game out of water pack. Yeah. Or like Wii remote controls or something totally wacky. They're like, no, let's do it within. It's just a much more reasonable level of innovation. So, and it's true, and some people have actually complained about that. And they said, well, games like Splatoon 2 and 3 are too iterative, and the Mario Kart DLC is just new tracks. And like, but I love this because I've been always on that cusp of like, oh, what are you gonna do, Nintendo, to screw this one up? Like. What are you going to do that's not what we want? And now it seems like they're really
Exactly.
keen on what we want. Probably because a lot of the people who felt this way are now working there. Where back in the GameCube Wii era, they were like too young or they were studying. Last thing I'm going to ask about. I have two more questions with Tears of the Kingdom here. Do you think this trailer was better than that Breath of the Wild launch trailer?
I think from like a very objective point, like I would say yes. Just has a lot, some substance there that really got me excited. And Breath of the Wild, I was already so excited for, and it just continued that. Where this, like, again, not that I was pessimistic about this game at all, but it really did kind of turn myself and many people's expectations from being like, oh, there's so many questions, I have doubts, to being like, I'm on board. Where Breath of the Wild, I felt like most people were just like, I'm on board, and then they're like, yep, I'm definitely on board. So I think in that way, Tears of the Kingdom's trailer is better, but there's something to be said about, Breath of the Wild, like the hype was just so real because it was, the first kind of game since Skyward Sword. It looked really awesome. The music, the moment, it was just there. And this one's like, again, it is a sequel. We kind of know what to expect a little bit. So as far as like, my own opinion of what gave me more like, this is amazing, is Breath of the Wild. But I think from an objective point, Tears of the Kingdom did a better job of convincing people and showing that kind of the awesomeness in that 3 minutes.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, I've watched both recently because to me that Breath of the Wild trailer is one of the best trailers ever. But there's a lot of context involved, right? Like at that time with that Breath of the Wild trailer, it was such a novelty to have this huge open world to explore as Link. Where now it's more just like, oh, cool, you have like all these cool gameplay ideas and new designs and complexity and stuff. Where if you go back to the Breath of the Wild trailer, it's almost like, well, it's Link running around an empty world. So it depends on the context of how you're watching it, but I do think ultimately that Breath of the Wild trailer was more impactful because it was just ushering not only Zelda into like a brand new era, but Nintendo itself. Like they were at their lowest point sales wise and mindshare wise.
I think open world games in general too.
Open world games in general, yeah, exactly. And that game just like really reinvigorated it. And I remember seeing that trailer, and every time I watch it, I get that feeling back where it's like, man, I just want to run into every forest and explore it. Where this one's a little different. Now it's more just like, wow, I really want to see like this next level of design of one of my favorite games ever. But yeah, it's cool to think like, Breath of the Wild, it dances. My top three favorite games of all time are Metroid Prime, Resident Evil 4, and Breath of the Wild. And they kind of like all dance around what's first, what's second, what's third.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy to think that this could be my favorite game of all time coming in less than a month. Like I can't even fathom it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome to think about.
Now the last question I'm going to ask you. So are you on a blackout now? I mean, they said this is the final trailer, but there will definitely be like video reviews and things like that. So how much more are you going to engage with the press?
I'd like to say that I'm going to do absolutely nothing, but knowing me, like once a thread comes or something, I can't help but maybe click it and kind of read a little bit. But for the most part, I'd like to not really discuss it with anyone or see anything else. Like I know I'm going to enjoy this, and I think as hard as it will be to stay away or not talk about it with you or my other friends, like the idea of just like sitting down and loading this game and starting it while not knowing this next month of leaks and what people will do, because I'm sure people will get it, people will get these games 4 days early and they just share absolutely everything as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And like I want to go in where it's like what I know right now is all I know, and I'm hoping that I even forget some of the stuff from that trailer, so I go in and go, oh my god, I totally forgot about this part. Like I would like to be blackout, but who knows?
For me, sometimes like seeing like a big boss, like we saw that 3-headed dragon in the trailer, Golik, I think it's called, or Golek, which is
Gleeok,
Gleeok, which is the NES boss. Yeah, which is cool. Like it's in the NES it's a little pixelated thing. It's like the size of Link, but like now it's so different, so fully realized. But for me, I almost get the same gratification in seeing it in the trailer along with everyone else. In the kind of a show reel than I do in the game itself. Like it's still the same excitement to be like, wow. And then when I see it in the game, it's like, wow, that now I get to experience what I've been thinking about. But I think there'll be tons of surprises. It would be cool if they didn't send review codes and just like let everyone get it on the same day.
They won't do that though.
I don't think they'll do that. No.
The review people will probably get it like in a week from now.
I mean, they did get Breath of the Wild very early. I would be surprised if they have to wait till like May 1st or like much closer to the end of the month.
Well, I'm betting the reviews will be out a week before. Like I think Breath of the Wild was a week before, wasn't it?
I think it was a good solid week before.
So I'm sure that they'll give the game like 3 weeks before, which is like a week from now.
I also wouldn't be surprised if they put this under like serious embargo. Like you can give a review, but you can't talk about this. Which they do.
True.
Do. So.
I just don't want to. I don't want to be in the scenario where again I don't mind seeing a boss or whatever or seeing the name, but it's like when people start getting their hands on it, and they're like, there's exactly 6 dungeons, there's exactly 18 bosses, there's 100 shrines, this is the 5 characters you got to see, there's 3 towns, and they're like, it's kind of like, okay, well now I know, like it's like they're like, oh, there's underground sections, but they're only limited to these spots. It's kind of like, okay, like you ruined all that sense of exploration and excitement for me because now it's like it feels more checklisty. So I'd rather just not know those numbers, not know those things, because like then I'm like, oh man, how many more are there? How big does this thing go?
I agree.
That's what I'm excited. Yeah.
I think we will. Unfortunately, that will come out. Like we'll be like, oh, there's 8 major dungeons or there's 7 major tiers. Like we'll get a general sense.
I'm gonna avoid that, and please don't tell me.
I won't. I just think it'll be very hard to avoid. It'll be in reviews. It'll be in previews. It'll be.
I'm gonna see the review number, and that's it. I honestly am trying my best to
I'm gonna try too. But also remember with Breath of the Wild, like we knew there was 120 shrines. We knew there was 4 divine beasts. But then there was like tons of other stuff, right? There was tons of other stuff that you like. Even there was that one kind of shrine cave, old sanctuary in the desert where it was just full of guardians, and it was like super hard to get through. Like there'll be lots. I think this game's gonna be so full of that stuff that it will be impossible to ruin every single cave and surprise and castle and room.
Agreed, but I agreed. Still gonna try my best.
I'm gonna try my best too. I mean, it's just at this point,
it's 3.5 weeks away or whatever it is. Like I can get through it.
Yeah, same here. Well, hey, I'm glad. I'm excited for May 12th, man. I'm gonna take that whole weekend off. So.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Okay, well, let's move on to some other topics.
Okay.
Not a lot here, but I did see the Super Mario movie.
Nice.
We didn't talk about it much. I know you haven't seen it yet because you're not a real fan.
I'm seeing it in a week.
I didn't even see it day one. I saw it a couple days later. But I won't spoil anything, although it's not really a spoiler kind of thing. But I will say it's absolutely excellent. And as a Nintendo Mario fan, like you just can't help but love it and smile the entire time. There's so many references. There's so many like like the best of the best music. I couldn't even begin to ruin all the references, and I won't even tell you any. But there's so many. Ones that are like good, solid, deep cuts. And there's also like, I'm telling you, when you're watching it, like look around the picture. Like don't just follow the action with your eye. Like there are so many things on the walls and hidden posters and little tiny things in the background, and it's just great.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that I'm excited to watch it in theaters, but I'm actually excited also to watch it again, like at home, where I could be like, oh, did I just see that, and pause and rewind and check. Yeah, I know like even in the trailer. When Mario's walking through like a Toad Town or whatever, like in the back there's like the Yoshi coins that are being sold by a vendor and stuff. So I'm like, oh, like there's some cool stuff for sure.
And there's some stuff that's not Mario, like other games. Yeah, it's not like as blatant. It's not like you're gonna see a Triforce, but there are other games that are in there. And there's one particularly that I'm like, oh, cool. This really cements that this is in the Mario universe canon. I won't tell you what that is.
Okay.
But it's pretty. This is probably the most obvious one, but it's really cool. And
nice.
Also, just the nice thing about it is that, there's some of the complaints in the reviews are that it doesn't have that deep of a story, but Mario's never had a deep story.
I don't think it, and like, at the end of the day, it's a kid's story. It's a kid's movie. Like, it doesn't need a super in-depth story.
I would even say it's not necessarily a kid's story, but the story's basic, and it's more about the journey, let me put it that way, than the story. And it's basically just a device to get you on this fun adventure where, like, it almost feels like if there was any more of a story or any more, like, hammed-in character development, it would not feel right. And I will say, like, it basically gets right. This it's like a ride when you're watching this movie, because it's just like one thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. There's never like okay, now they're gonna sit around and talk, and now we're gonna learn about his backstory and why he's sad, and it isn't that never happens. So it's just like it's more of a ride for me in a weird way. So it's almost like this it's hard to explain. It's almost like it's something between a video game and a movie. It's not quite as a plot-driven movie. And I've got to say, like, I was smiling. There was one point in the theater where a kid sitting behind me screamed out, like a 5-year-old screamed out, "Wow, this is so cool!" And like people were laughing, and I'm like, "Wow, like that's so awesome!" Like just how excited all the kids are in the theater. And there was a point in time, like I was sitting and watching the movie, and a good 2/3 in, and I said, "You know, I'm biased here, but is this my favorite movie of all time?" Fully accepting my bias, being like, I love just because I love Mario. I've grown up. I've spent more time with Mario than any other franchise, pretty much. So it's just like, wow, to see this so well done and so well realized. It's just awesome. I loved it.
That's awesome. Yeah, nice.
It's now the highest grossing video game movie ever. After
And it's only 2 weeks
weekend.
in. That's crazy.
This is its second weekend. It's going to do $1 billion. It's going to do better than Marvel films. It's doing insanely well.
That's awesome.
And I will say, Chris Pratt, I take back all my. I mean, still don't really like him as a person or an actor, but he did just fine as Mario. And honestly, like 5 minutes in the movie, you're not thinking about it, and it actually works really well.
Nice. I'm glad with that.
Yeah, it's not like as distracting as it was in the trailer where everyone's hyper focusing, and honestly, like all the voice acting is pretty on point.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about what we've been playing recently, Derek.
For sure.
I've got 4 games on my list,
Oh wow. Okay.
but some of them are just a little bit. Some of them are, So how many do you have on your list?
Just one, I guess. 2, maybe 2, but one really.
Okay, well let me go first.
Okay.
So after seeing the Mario movie, I met up with a friend and we sat and we've been talking about doing this for a while, but we 100%ed Super Mario Bros. 3. Every single level. We used no P-wings, and I've never done that.
No whistles.
No whistles. I've never done that before. You beat every level. And we did use the save scum a lot where we like rewind it. So we didn't like, if that's
Yeah.
it's cheating a bit, but it was awesome. And like he's older than me, so he grew up playing Mario Bros. 3 like on his Nintendo as a kid, so he knew all these secrets and all these tricks, and it was awesome. It was really fun, and it only took a couple hours. And then when we were finished it, we went and started Super Mario World right away. And then we ended up 100%ing that as well. Like 100%ing to the point where we get every secret exit, every star, and
You got every secret exit from every level.
Yeah, so you get
Some of those are really hidden.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just between me and him, and we never had to look anything up. The one interesting thing though is that you get like it adds a tally on the main screen, and the final tally is 96 and puts a star next to it. But in the star map, in the Star Road area, you have to beat the secret way and beat the regular way. Even though beating the regular way doesn't progress you still have to beat both ways.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
So there's a few things like we got to the end, we're like, oh, we thought we did everything, and then we did look that up. We're like, oh, we got to go back to Star World and beat them all the regular ways, which took 2 minutes. And there was a couple like really, really devious hidden secrets in the ghost houses and stuff.
That's what I was saying. There's like 2 or 3 levels, like in World 3 or something, where like the exit is just like so ridiculous.
Yeah, or you have to like kind of like fly up over the edge, and it was cool. It reminded me of being a kid and playing Mario World, and like you'd find that secret that felt like this epic, huge, oh my god, I can't believe I found this feeling. So yeah, him and I, we're gonna do Yoshi's Island next. You've always told me the 100% of that's really great. I've never done that. So
really, it's hard, but man, just because again, there's extra levels you've never even played.
I know.
They're so good.
I will say using the rewind feature is really nice because it can be frustrating to have to restart a level for one section. And so in Yoshi's Island especially, if we lose some of our star points, easy enough to just rewind it and do it right.
Yeah, especially for a boss, right? Because you have to beat every boss without taking a hit. So It's nice to have that rewind for sure.
Totally. So yeah, those are 2 games I've been playing. How about you?
So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll talk about. There's one that we'll talk about after at the end, but the other one I've been playing is Octopath Traveller 2.
Nice.
I was playing it a bit before. I took a break to play the other game we'll talk about, and then I just got back into it this week. Yeah, really love it a lot. Right now, it's number 2 on my game of the year list for the games that I played. Again, I loved the first one, but much better. Love the characters. Feels way more diverse and not so formulaic. The world's awesome. It's funny, like even at school when I have some free time, I'm like making a spreadsheet of all the items and skills that I want different characters to use and have in their equipment. So, like for a good couple of weeks, this game was really heavily on my mind. And now that I'm getting back into it, it's just the music's good. The graphics are great. The characters are awesome. Like I really don't have any negatives to say about this game. Definitely, to me, it's like probably maybe the best JRPG I've ever played. Like it's just
wow,
as far as
more
like,
than Mario RPG.
No, like that game that has such a nostalgia. Like it's I would say this game's probably top 5 for sure, just to play it safe.
And so, how close are you to beating it?
Oh, like not even close. Like
it's huge, eh?
Yeah, so there's 8 characters, and I finished the main story of 2 of them, and I'm almost done another 2, but I haven't even started the story of the other 4, because you only get 4 in your party at once. So I'm doing 4 all the way through. So I'm almost done the first 4, and then I have to do the other 4 all the way through, and then there's like a wrap-up story and all the side content and stuff. So there's a lot left.
Wow. Yeah. And you're definitely higher than a 9 for you, huh?
I would give it like maybe a 9.1 or I would say a 9 to a 9.2 is kind of the range I'd give it. Like it's definitely a solid 9 of being an excellent game. I just don't know if it's like in the echelon of like 9.5 kind of range.
It's it seems like the game got a little bit overlooked or like kind of wedged between a bunch of other big releases.
Yeah, I think sales-wise it got kind of overlooked. Like, if you go on the threads of people playing this game, every single person raves about it and says it's awesome.
Yeah, I wonder if how the sales will end up for it.
Yeah, I hope it does well.
So the other thing I've been playing, sort of, is I think I told you a while ago I got a Wii, and my goal was to collect all the light gun shooter games.
Oh yeah, I think you did tell me that. Umbrella Chronicles and House of Dead and
I now have all of them.
Let
me tell you, Dark Side Chronicles, paying $65, that burned.
That game sucks. Umbrella Chronicles is 100 times better than Dark Side Chronicles.
But here's the thing: there's only about 6 light gun shooter games that are like really just exclusively Wii light gun shooter games. There's Umbrella Chronicles, Dark Side Chronicles, Dead Space Extraction, House of the Dead 2 and 3, Ghost Squad, and I think that's it.
Lynch crossbow training.
No, because you need the nunchuck. And then, sorry, there is House of the Dead Overkill. So I've gotten all those now. Some of them are still like in the mail on their way, but I have the full collection, and so I've been playing a little bit of House of the Dead 2 and 3, and I mean, I gotta say, the graphic, it's so interesting because I remember playing this at like, Palladium back when I was a kid, and like thinking the graphics were so amazing when it was like all I had was an N64. And playing now, I just like the graphics are disgustingly horrible, and you're just kind of like, wow, these load times and the menus are really bad, and but it's still fun. I can't lie. It's still, there's something about just aiming and shooting with a cursor on the screen it's always gonna be fun. And I do have good memories of Umbrella Chronicles and Dark Side Chronicles. I know Dark Side Chronicles had some kind of like weird like frame rate effects where like things are really blurry, but it's still shooting zombies on a screen,
Yeah, it's fun and just relaxing. I love Umbrella Chronicles so much that I think it's either S or triple S rank on every level to unlock infinite ammo for all the guns.
I remember you went nuts on that game, yeah.
Yeah, and then I tried to do it for Dark Side, and I just absolutely hated it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I like about those two games is they are like they're romps through the Resident Evil kind of universe. So and I think Dark Side Chronicles has Resident Evil 2 and 0 and 5. So it's just a kind of a cool.
Doesn't have no way it's 5,
isn't it? I thought it did have 5.
And I thought 0 was in Umbrella Chronicles.
Maybe Umbrella Chronicles is 0, 1, and something else random, and I don't know. I thought it had 5.
I don't know. I think it's 0, 1, and 3, and like maybe 2, and then Dark Side Chronicles. The main thing is they had stories that weren't part of the real Resident Evil.
But I remember there being real graphical issues with Dark Side Chronicles, like ghosting of the zombies and stuff. But yeah, whatever. It's something. It's the perfect brain off thing to do, and it's also the perfect game to play for like a very short amount of time. Like sometimes I don't want to like sweat holding my controller playing Resident Evil 4. I just want to like
Yeah.
kind of relax and play that. And I think that's our next game we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, Resident Evil 4, the original on the GameCube.
Yeah. No, on the VR version. I bought a Quest. I'm kidding. No, I Resident Evil 4 for obviously Xbox and PS5. So was that your last game?
That is my last game. Yeah.
So I know you're much further than me. I still haven't beaten it once.
Oh wow. Okay.
But I'm into it now, and I just kind of played an hour with the new update, with the new they released a new kind of patch.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm still kind of, the controls are better now. Like, I do notice the aiming feels smoother, but I feel like I've had to like relearn the controls, so I've had to like go back to the menu and fiddle with it for a good half my time was fiddling with the controls. And it's interesting. Like, I saw online a lot of people complaining about the graphical downgrade that they did for Xbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might not notice it because apparently it always looked like this on PS5, but it's definitely noticeable. Just things are jaggier, but I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I don't care. I'm playing it for the game.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
There's still, it seems like they've reduced my load-in problem, but it really does depend on like where you are. Like, certain textures will do it worse than others. But still, I mean, I'm loving the game. It's just like I've got to dive into it again because you kind of lost a little bit of the muscle memory around it. But
Where are you in the game?
still in the dun. I just got Ashley on the island. Like, just kind of saved her.
Okay, so you're in chapter 14. You're almost done.
Yeah, I've got maybe another couple hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. And they did, to me, they fixed the dead zone issue. It feels
Nice.
that feels really good. I still just hope they kind of keep patching the graphics because, as people have said online, like, the performance mode they had before was fine because the VRR fixed it. And apparently what they did was they downgraded the visual quality so that the performance is better.
Yeah.
But it's definitely noticeable, and I just wish they maybe added a VRR mode, which they did. They did do that for like other games. I think they did it on The Last of Us Part 1 and some other games that have come out for PS5 and Xbox have a VRR mode, which keeps the performance, which keeps the visual quality high. But here nor there, I still love it, and it's the tough thing. It's hard now, so I'm like, I've jumped in and I'm like wobbling with the controls again and died where I had this, like, I got so used to the controls I was just murking everybody. So but yeah, awesome game, and I'm like excited to like run and do like another couple playthroughs before Zelda.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to hear your thoughts as you beat the game and kind of have more time to put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I've beaten the game I think 5 times, maybe 6 times.
Disgusting.
I platinumed the game. I got every challenge except for 1, or except for 2, because so I got every trophy, but there's also challenges in the game that aren't related to trophies, and I got all of them except for 2, because one of them was kill the giant fish boss without missing a harpoon, and I'm like, I just don't want to spend my time making sure I hit every shot.
Yeah.
And another one was do one of the target practice gallery games without missing a single shot, and that didn't interest me either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it a lot. I find everything about the game really, really sublime. It's currently my game of the year. I really like I didn't notice the graphic upgrade because you're talking about this patch. I noticed the PS5. After I played a little bit more, I realized that it did look better. But again, it's not mind blowing. It's always felt great to me. I don't care so much about that if the gameplay is great, and I find the gameplay great. I'm at the point now where I know every section of that game almost by heart. Like, I could tell you exactly what room comes after what room and where to go and what to do. Because I just played it 5 times, and the last 2 or 3 times I sped run it to get those higher ranks.
How long? What's the speed that you're able to beat it now?
I think the fastest I did it was with the Infinite Launcher. I think I did it in 4.5, but on Pro S Plus, where I did it like legit, I did it in 4 hours and 50 minutes or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've also beat on hardcore?
Hardcore's easier than pro.
Sorry, I keep getting... It seems like it shouldn't be, right? It should be like normal, pro,
just
then
think
hardcore.
Just think of like normal Resident Evil 4, where pro is the hardest mode.
So have you done a run on pro that's not New Game Plus, where you start off with the main items and...
So I'll tell you what it is. So I beat standard the normal way.
Yep.
Then I did the assisted mode, and I did it with only a gun and no healing, only a pistol and no healing.
And assisted means it's easier than standard, right?
It's easier. So what happens is you get a little bit of health back after every. So if you're in the red and you finish an encounter, it'll go back up to just barely in the green.
Nice.
But again, that was surprisingly hard even on assisted, because you don't realize that some of the sections with only a pistol is brutal. Like in the castle when you have the double blind claw guys.
Yeah.
Like to do that, and again, I had no healing items, so like I'm literally just above the red. So it's basically one hit even on assisted, and I have to pistol kill both those guys.
Wow, yeah.
Not easy. And then even the regenerators, I realized that when I got to I didn't think about it until I got to the section as I go, oh damn, I can't even use the biosensor for the sniper rifle. I have to figure out how to kill these guys, the regenerators, with a pistol.
Well, you don't have to kill them. You can just run away from them.
You have to kill at least one to get the wrench.
Oh no! How do you do that?
So I just shot, because you can't throw a grenade. So I just shot as much as I could, and I went through like 60 bullets, and eventually I got the last parasite.
Oh, I thought you had to shoot them with the rifle.
So to see the parasites, you had to, but no, you can knife them to death as long as you
knew that.
You just have to know where the parasites are, because you have to kill the parasites.
So you can knife them, though? You can knife the parasite?
Yeah, you can kill them however you want.
And here's the other question with those guys, because I find those guys more challenging this time around. Did some of their parasites take multiple shots, don't they?
I don't think so. If you hit them with the sniper rifle, they should explode in one shot.
Okay, because I feel like I've just wasted so much rifle ammo taking one down.
But you're using the biosensor so you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as you don't miss, yeah.
I didn't realize that I could just like shotgun them all over the body and take them out that way.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so like especially like if you had, again, like for me when I had infinite bullets, you can magnum them and it like explodes them pretty easily. Anyway, so I did assisted with the pistol and no healing, which was pretty challenging, and I bought the infinite rocket launcher, and then my third playthrough I did the infinite rocket launcher on pro just to like have fun and unlock stuff, so pretty easy and straightforward. And then the fourth run was the real kind of intense one where I did pro on a new game and got S+. So the only thing that you're allowed to use in that run, which made it a little bit easier, is you can use the bonus weapons, but you still have to start in a new game. So the only bonus weapon so the first like whatever, the whole village basically, I didn't have a bonus weapon. But then when I got to the castle, I had the Chicago typewriter, and I had infinite ammo for it.
That seems like cheating.
Okay.
Like you didn't do a run of pro that was just pure?
No. But I think I could. Well, honestly, I don't know if I could. I can do the village. I did the village pure. But I honestly, imagining doing the castle or some of the castle segments,
it's just ridiculously hard.
It's just on pro, the enemies are such bullet sponges, Peter. Like most of the village is you shoot them twice and you hope that they get stunned, and then you run and you just hope that you can get the right route to get out of there alive. Like
and it's like you just wait the 13 minutes kind of thing for that first village.
Exactly. Oh, the village actually was okay. Like for me, I just never stopped running. Like you can almost do like a kind of a figure 8 kind of pattern, and get through it. But the hardest part was the valley, because the valley's like, oh my god, you can't get anywhere without. They're coming down all these narrow pathways. So you have to shoot them to get past. And then if you take too long to stun them, dynamite gets thrown at you, and a dynamite's one hit kill in pro. So it's like, it's wild.
I might never do a pro run. I might just do the hardcore run and call it a day.
That's what I'd say. I would say if you're doing a new game plus, like if you want to do a new game plus and start with all of your upgraded guns, whatever, pro will be fine. It'll be fun. But if you want to do a new game run, I would recommend that you do hardcore before ever trying pro, because new game on pro is like insanity. And I did it for the first six whatever, and then I got the infinite after, and it was those first 6 chapters of the village are ridiculously hard. And I think I told you, like, I skipped the final boss of the village. Like, I found all these different routes to like kind of make it easier on me. Yeah, and I was following a guide. Like, pro is hard.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go right from this to just a new game plus on hardcore.
I would say do new game plus on pro.
Oh yeah, you just think because I'll have all these awesome items, I'll be okay.
Oh, 100%. If you have all those awesome items, pro will be it'll be a bit more challenging, but you'll still be fine. You'll have upgraded an upgraded red 9, upgraded sniper rifle. Like, you'll be fine.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would just say New Game Plus Pro, or just New Game Pure, do hardcore.
And if I do hardcore, I'll mow everyone down on New Game Plus.
On New Game Plus, you will. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I would say if you want that kind of like fair but really challenging kind of good skill level, I would do New Game, not Plus, on hardcore.
Awesome. Have you tried Mercenaries yet? Because I haven't unlocked it yet.
It's unlocked from the beginning. You just have to download it. It's a separate thing to download.
Oh, then that's why I don't have it.
Yeah, so I have played it. I waited till I got the platinum first, and then I went and downloaded it. And then I went and played it. I only did each map once. Tried every character and did each map, and I just put the game away because I wanted to move on to Octopath again. It's really fun, but again, without kind of co-op or more characters or levels, I don't really think it has a staying power beyond maybe playing it for an hour.
I mean, there are leaderboards, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they're the first 15,000 people all have like 1 million plus scores, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like, that's just so for me.
That's what it always was for me. It was always kind of like a fun distraction, a little bit, but nothing really to sink my teeth in.
Yeah, I think for me, what it would really be is if I went and played that game again, let's say 6 months, I would use that as maybe a good 30-minute warm up to kind of get used to the controls again.
I see. Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, like the game a lot. Big fan. High score, game of the year for me so far. Maybe Zelda will pass it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably able to Zelda, Pikmin, and Resident Evil 4 for me.
Yeah, mine will be pretty similar.
Okay, well, I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you here was our next episode. Should we wait until Breath of the Wild 2, or sorry, Tears of the Kingdom?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Should we just wait till maybe like that weekend of May 12th to just talk about it, or should we? I just don't know what else. What else is coming out? Like I don't think either of us are going to get Advance Wars.
I'm not getting Advance Wars. There is Jedi Fallen Order or Survivor. I'm not getting that, but I think you might be. I don't know.
I'm not. Honestly, at this point, I'm just not blowing money on every game.
Yeah, exactly. I think unless there's some big news story coming out about Nintendo or a Sony, Microsoft stuff that's worth discussing and kind of dissecting, I think we're good for now. Like there might be like a Starfield drop or a Spider-Man thing or
I don't think so though. I really think Sony, we're gonna wait till summer for their big drops. I think that Microsoft has already announced Starfield is June 11th, and I think that to hear anything more from Nintendo, it'll be July around the Pikmin 4 season, when after they kind of do their marketing run up for Pikmin 4, we'll probably get like a late July, early August fall direct. And
I don't think there's much until Zelda comes out.
But let's play it by ear. If there is a big announcement or something significant, we will talk. But
Hollow Knight Shadow Drop.
Yeah, I mean, but I think for the most part, I think there's a good chance that our next... Because what are we going to do? Talk about the reviews of Zelda? Talk about the next leak? Like, I think for the most part, we just plan that weekend when it comes out. May 12th is a Friday.
Yeah, I think maybe the 14th we have our podcast or something.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Derek. Well, thanks for the Nintendo Bros chat.
Yeah, it was a good podcast. Zelda everything.
We talked about everything. All right, Derek. Well, you have yourself a good night.
You too.
All right. Nintendo Bros Pete signing out.
This is Derek. See you later.